Hey guys, I haven't made a video in a few days and I wanted to kind of vent about a few things that are unfortunate things that have happened in my life that I mentioned partly on my old channel but that I wanted to vent about again. Um, just sexual things that experiences I've had, not like graphic details or anything like that or sex talk, but experiences I've had with people that shouldn't have happened, or things in my family that have happened that just kind of weigh on my mind from time to time as far as extreme abnormality. One thing I can say, I'm gonna start with the things that I can't really expound on too much because it's more situational than it involved me. Like one time, just to put into perspective how skewed things are as far as family dynamics and as far as me noticing how sex obsessed my family is and how two of those three family members have come after me sexually and how Alabama, West Virginia it is. And I'm according to the jokes that people make and all like that. But four people I know, one, my ex-boyfriend has had this explicitly happen in his life. And while mine is not that extreme, it still feels very similar. Or it feels similar. I can't say very similar because I'm nowhere near in the same boat as they are. So I can't, it's nowhere near comparable. But as far as it being a family member, I have similar feelings about the situation as I'm sure they do. But my twin sister, right, told me one time as far as how weird my family is that her and my half brother were watching Netflix one time at her and my dad's house. And when Netflix went off, she asked him what he wanted to do now, and he sexually implied that he wanted to have sex with her because he wanted to Netflix and chill. That's our half brother. It's my dad's son, and we are our dad's daughters. And so my brother has a different mom than me and my twin sister have a different mom. But our dad is again the same parent to both of us. So my brother is into incest. My twin sister, I don't know if she got the idea from him or if she already had the idea, because like this is kind of like when me and my twin sister were teenagers, we would take sexy pictures with each other, like nude pictures or dressed in sexy clothes, and not with each other. Like we weren't posed up with each other naked together. Like we would just take sexy pictures for ourselves, but we didn't have anyone to take the pictures of us for ourselves. So we would take the pictures of each other so each of us could have sexy pictures of ourselves for our each of our own selves, if that makes sense. That's what I thought we were doing. Apparently, she thought otherwise. She thought it was more incestuous, and I had no idea that's what was on her mind when we were doing that. Otherwise, I would have never partook of it. So this is when we were like 14, 13. We're just experiencing sexuality. We're just getting breasts. And so we're a little excited that we're getting curves and we want to show off and take pictures and, maybe show the pictures to our boyfriends and play around and all this stuff. So I'm thinking it's innocent playing around. So, you know how like Angelina Jolie made out with her brother. Whenever I see that, one or two things goes through my mind where I'm like, maybe they were just joking around because like me and my sister, sometimes we would kiss each other, not like make out, but we would just peck each other in the mouth, like the way little girls, like 4 or 5 year old girls, would give the little sister a kiss on the mouth. That's what it was like in my head. But in her head, it was something totally different. And I did not know that until last year. So I'm thinking all this is just innocent playing around with my twin sister, like just joking around. like I do that with my girlfriends too, and I'm just joking around with them, but they have other intentions, and I don't know until after the fact. And then I regret that I even did it because they have different intentions in mind, which is why you never know what another person is thinking, right? But so my brother is a little incestuous. So I found out last year one thing that happens that really put the ceiling coffin into the relationship with me and my twin sister. Because if you don't know, my sister was one of my key abusers growing up. As far as, you see a lot of little kids where one kid is bullying another little kid, and the family kind of brushes it off as the little kid is in a mood, or they need a nap, or they're a little hungry, or they want to play with the toys, so they're being a little aggressive. And they don't view it as abuse the way it feels to the kid on the receiving end of it, especially when it's habitual and it's a pattern of aggression and dominance in the child that's participating in it. That should not actually be there. Like, kids should be docile and peaceful. So if there's a child that's constantly angry and taking it out on another sibling, for the kid that's receiving it, it feels like you're growing up around an abusive sibling that keeps you on eggshells, and it feels like there's no real love coming from your sibling. And it shapes how you feel about yourself growing up. It shapes how you allow people to treat you when you're growing up. It shapes a lot when you're in those younger years, and a lot of people brush it off as it's just children roughhousing, or it's just children this, it's just that. But if you were a child on the receiving end of that in your innocent mind, it's no different than if an adult was doing it to you. Because it feels like an adult, when you're that little, you're on your peer-to-peer level, it might as well be an adult doing it to you, because you're the same height, you're the same body size, you're the same everything. And that is like looking at an adult eye to eye when you're at that age. So my sister was one of my chronic abusers, physical abusers, growing up, like my whole life until we became teenagers. Then she became more verbally and emotionally abusive and hostile and just an asshole. But last year, she contracted Trick and was pissing on herself because my sister has 3 boyfriends. She likes going to sex parties. She likes going to IHOP and having sex parties with random people and having sex games in the middle of IHOP with little 6-year-olds in the booth next to her, and they're having this loud rambunctious sex party with dice and cards and talking about, I would lick your clit for this and that, and I would do this and I would do that. Like, just no couth, no morals, no moral compass, no self-awareness, no ability to give a fuck. Like, just hyper obsessed with sex to the point that she keeps getting STDs. I mean, going to these sex parties where there's tents out in the forest or the wilderness or wherever the hell they go, where some dude's drinking cups of her piss, and she's getting spanked on her feet, and she's getting tied up in bondage, and all this stuff with people she doesn't know. So she contracted Trick and was pissing on herself every 3 minutes and didn't know what was going on. Found out she had an STD, and then she contracted HPV, which is incurable and can lead to cancer. So now she has HPV. She has still maintained 3 boyfriends with all of these STDs, and they all were sexually active. So I'm sure all of them have it. And one of the boyfriends broke up with her, probably went on to give the diseases to some other girl. And none of them broke up with her while she had the STDs. None of them stopped being sexually active. And she literally had the nerve to ask me if I would have sex with her. And this is my twin sister, like my literal full-blooded twin sister. Not another mom, not another dad, my twin sister. And I was disgusted. And I was like, you're my flesh and blood. Like, no, I'm not going to have sex with you. Why would that even cross your mind? What type of question is that? That is a massive boundary overstep. Like, that is abnormal to the max. That made me feel so incredibly uncomfortable. And I was like, no, I won't have sex with you. She was like, will you have... Basically asked if I would have a threesome with her and one of her boyfriends. She had Trick. She had HPV. She had all this shit. And she just asked it like it didn't mean anything in the world that I could contract all these diseases. Nothing in the world that she had 3 boyfriends that also probably had the diseases. Nothing in the world that I'm her twin sister, flesh and blood. Nothing in the world at all. I had no idea she was sexually attracted to me. I had no idea she was that obsessed with sex. I mean, I knew her life was wild as it was anyway. She was kind of going off the deep end. It kind of always happened since we were teenagers, but I didn't know it was so bad. She would try to have sex with her own sister. So, that was like after the whole lifestyle we've had with each other, considering the abuse dynamic and her not viewing me as a peer to peer equal and viewing me as lesser than and lower than and someone to be mistreated and misused, I pretty much cut her off. And I cut her off this year. I mean, I tried everything in my power to maintain a functional relationship with her. And after that, it kind of slowly dawned on me that I needed to cut this person out of my life. I'm sorry, I'm digging on my nose. It's snot. But I ultimately made the decision to cut her out of my life. She's also highly narcissistic, like the rest of my mom and my older sister. It seems like my father is the only one in my family who has his head on his shoulders straight. So, there's that. Sorry, my nose. But anyway, so there's that. But it feels like what happened, it feels moderately being approached by a family member for sex. Feels moderately like what happened to my ex-boyfriend. And this was all over the news. It was in the newspaper. I dated a gothic guy I'm going to call Johnny. I dated a no, I'm not going to call him Johnny. I'm going to call him Brandon. Dated a gothic guy back in high school when I was 16 named Brandon. And his dad and his stepmom were in the KKK. And Brandon wasn't racist at all, but his dad and his stepmom were. So, Brandon, I move out of my mom's house when I'm 16 because my mom and my dad get divorced for the second time. I go moving with my dad, and Brandon moves in with his mom and her girlfriend out in like Virginia Beach, and I'm out in like Wakefield, Waverly, someplace. So we're like 2.5 hours apart from each other, and we're doing long distance. But I find out we eventually break up because I'm thinking long distance isn't going to work. We're never going to see each other. No, our parents aren't going to be driving us 2.5 hours to visit each other, and it's just not going to work. So of course I'm devastated. But like we break up, and I find out from him, a year later, that because his dad and his stepmom were in the KKK, his dad decided to rape Brandon's sister, which was the dad's full-blooded daughter, and get her pregnant. So the dad approached his own daughter, incest again, and they were encouraged to do this by the KKK. And he got her drunk with one of her friends, and the dad raped the daughter, and the dad's friend raped the daughter's friend, and the dad ended up getting the daughter pregnant. So the daughter was like, what, 13, 14, 12, something really, really young. And she's still raising this inbred daughter to this day, and has the scars of being raped by her own dad. And I'm like, while my situation's nowhere near like that because I was not raped by my sister, it was not a man, it wasn't my own dad, I didn't get pregnant, nothing like that. It's just the similarities of having a family member approach you for sex. That is the similarities in the situations. So I vaguely understand how my ex-boyfriend's sister feels as far as incest being on your brain with a family member. Only vaguely, like I said, because it's nowhere near as severe as her situation. But I feel that level of discomfort, that level of trauma, that level of disturbance in my head when I think of my twin sister now. So, like, that's one thing. So, my sister's incestuous, my half brother's incestuous, and the last thing that really disturbs me the most, and this bothers me when I'm masturbating, like, and the thing that trips me out the most is quantum resonantia. or resonatia. I'm not sure how you say it in Latin, but it's the scientific principle that if you think about a person, they're thinking about you. And if you notice yourself thinking about a person, it means that they were thinking about you. So the question I have about that principle is, can it go any further than that as far as the timing of a thing? So if I'm masturbating and I suddenly think about my uncle, like, is there any way scientifically they can know that you're masturbating, or that any part of them can know that there's something sexual about your vibe in the moment, in your head, or in your energy, or something like that? Because, like they say, it may sound kind of crazy kooky, but like that's the biggest question I have about that scientific principle. It's not a theory, it's proven. But like quantum entanglement, it's the same thing. Like if you think about a person a whole lot, they start to think about you, which means on some level our brains are connected to other people at all times. So at some level you must know when someone's thinking about you, which is the principle of quantum resonance or quantum entanglement. So if you're aware of when someone's thinking about you, can you be aware of what they're thinking about you, which has been proven too, especially among twins. So people say, I got this horrible feeling, something terrible happened to my twin, and sometimes it's so specific, like with INFJs and people who have almost claircognizance or clairvoyance or all this stuff, where like they know exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who's going to do it, where it's going to happen. Like when I was at the group home and I knew a school shooting was about to happen in the city I was in. It was a small city, and I'm like, I don't know what school it is. I don't know who's going to do it, but I know it's going to be like a high school, and I know it's going to happen like in a few days. And a week later it happened, and it was all over the news. So like just having those strong intuitions, because your brain picks up on patterns that you can't explain why or how. Like people get those strong intuitions. So like if the problem with my uncle, like with the masturbation and stuff like that, that makes me so uncomfortable and makes it so repetitive, is I have an uncle in marriage who has come after me sexually. And since that's the nature of this video, just venting about my sexual frustrations with the people who are interrupting my sex life and my sex drive, is I have an uncle in marriage who is married to my mom's twin sister, my aunt. And he has made comments that made my aunt so uncomfortable. She has come to me in privacy and told me about it and asked me not to go back and tell him. So he's even made her uncomfortable with the level of attraction he has towards me. And fortunately, it's not my blood uncle, but it makes it even more awkward that it's to someone who's like intruded into our family through marriage, who's not related to me, because the attraction is probably even more realistically real. So basically, like, you ever see a guy and his eyes are just dragging all up and down you, and they pause on your vagina, and they pause on your nipples, and then they drag all over your face, and they go back down your body and back up at you. It might as well be his hands dragging all up and down you, and he's got this half sexy smirk on his face. I don't mean he looks sexy. I mean he's just got a sexual look all over his face, and he's just grinning at you, and he look like that's the way he looks at me when we're alone. And it's uncomfortable, and it's noticeable. It's no different than when a random guy does it, and you know the guy's sexually attracted to you, and you know that because he opens his mouth and catcalls you, or it precedes, it follows the dragging of the eyes up and down your body, or the following you with his eyes through the store, turning around and staring at you, or hey girl, or whatever they're gonna say. Like, it all follows in a systematic order. So, like, that's the way he looks at me when no one is around. So that's the first thing I noticed. And this was before all this stuff even started. Like, just how he would look at me when we were alone. And so, one time when I was having a schizophrenic meltdown because of something my mother said that sent me into psychosis. And I also was having psychosis because I thought I had been raped because I thought I have DID, so I dissociate and black out, and it can last for hours, it can last for minutes, it can last for a few seconds, but when it lasts for hours, I have no idea what it is I've done. I have no idea what's happened to me. I have no idea who I've been around, and I never get those blackout memories back. But my vagina felt painful and off, like maybe I had been raped. So I call my mom, I say something to her, she says something to me that was a total lie that sent me into psychosis. I rush over to her house thinking I've been raped, and so her and my uncle are just standing outside of the bathroom at my grandma's house where they live. And I rush to the bathroom, and they're both standing there outside the bathroom, the door's open or whatever. And I just strip off my clothes and jump into the shower. So they both see me totally naked. And this was like 4 years ago. And so my uncle turns and walks away. My mom's just sitting there staring at me in shock. And I'm just scrubbing my body down because I feel like I've been raped. And I don't know if I still don't know if I have been or have not. I don't think I have been, but like it felt like I had been, so I don't know what happened. But later that night, he comes down and sits on the couch with a boner next to me. And he just sits there and he's talking to me. I'm asking if I need any sort of help and are you okay? Because that was abnormal. And I'm just like, you're just sitting here with a boner. Like, why are you even here right now? Like, this is totally inappropriate. Like, you could have addressed that before you came down here. Like, it was just awkward. So, like, he does shit like that and thinks I'm supposed to just not notice it or not say anything about it, or I'm supposed to be flattered or find it acceptable or normal or some shit. So, there was that time. He's catcalled me on the street and tried to brush it off as a joke around other men, like, to try to get to try to make it, to try to frame it as though, oh, look, I just got the attention of this hot, beautiful girl. Because, like, he would catcall me. I would turn around, see him, and then start laughing, go over to him, and talk to him. But to anyone looking at it, it just looks like he just caught this sexy girl by catcalling her because no one's close enough to hear the conversation or realize that's my uncle. So, like he's done that before. And because it's my uncle, I try to laugh it off, play it off. I'm like, oh, he's just joking. But I don't get the whole situation dynamics of what it looks like until I'm looking back at it like a year or two later. So he does stuff like that. And at one point, I had this shirt on that had like distressing across the back of it. So I didn't have a bra on because I didn't want my bra strap to show through the distressing. And the front was just a solid top. It was just a t-shirt with short sleeves on it with distressing on the back. So it wasn't like anything like this with distressing on the back or revealing. It was just a scoop neck t-shirt with sleeves on it. And he saw that I didn't have a bra on, so he went and asked my aunt, the one he's married to, if I was an exhibitionist with like glee and admiration in his voice. And I'm like, do you know what an exhibitionist is? It's like, where do you think in America I'm running around butt ass naked? So, he asked her that with all this horniness and excitement in his voice, and she came back and told me a few days later at my mom's house what he asked her, and she was like, please don't go back and tell him I told you, but it made me so uncomfortable that he was asking me that about you. Like, it was so inappropriate and so obviously awkward that I wanted you to know what type of way he was looking at you, basically. And so it's been kind of a strained dynamic since then in my head, because I'm like, that's my aunt you're married to. You shouldn't be looking at me any kind of way. You should be asking sexual questions about me, especially not with admiration and sexual excitement in your voice. And like, it's just been one thing after the next, after the next, after the next, to the point I can't deny any longer that my uncle's sexually attracted to me. And it's awkward. It's uncomfortable. It makes me feel gross. And the whole trope, which I've never experienced this, not with my dad, not with my uncle, not with any man in my family, and I don't understand it. But when people say, or the idea that a little girl wants to marry her dad, like, I've never experienced that. And I'm not saying for a little girl to feel that way that is inappropriate, because they're not sexual creatures. So there's no sexual element in a little girl wanting to marry her dad. But, like, an 18-year-old girl wanting to marry her dad, a 30-year-old girl wanting to marry her dad is a little different. So, wanting to marry someone like your dad, if your dad is a stellar gentleman and he's treated you well and you're daddy's girl and all that stuff, that's understandable. But wanting to marry your dad is a little weird. So, you know, my uncle asked me if I would want to marry someone like him. But the way he said it was more like, would you want to marry me? Like, if we were in a different position, would you want to marry me? Would you marry me? And, like, it was just so awkward. I kind of tried to laugh and play it off, but I didn't really have much of a response for it. I was like, I don't know. And he said I looked like I was gagging, and he kind of tried to laugh to play it off, but I could tell his feelings were kind of hurt. And I was like, no, I wouldn't. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think of you that way. His personality is awful. Like, he's constantly, he's like a womanizer, but not in a sexual way, in a I'm gonna slowly dissect your self-worth kind of way. Like, he's constantly making underhanded jokes about the way women look, or the way their self-esteem is arranged if they're confident. Like, he's always trying to tear you down a little bit. And it's always women. He doesn't do it to men, he does it to women. And he's always talking about your weight, and, like, how you need to be, how your curves should be arranged, and how you would look super sexy if you were only 10 pounds heavier, or if you were like 15 pounds lighter, or if you wore a top that looked like this, it would accentuate your breasts just this way, or if you did this, you would look so attractive to all the men, and he really means to me. And he says this stuff to me all the time, and I'm like, it's awkward. So this is kind of what you face sometimes, and I don't, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I I don't know. Like, sometimes I think I have a combination of an innocent slash sexy face. Like, I don't know if that resonates with you guys out there, but I feel like I have more like innocent eyes if I have just a straight set face, but a sexy mouth. And then I kind of have like a softness to me, but a seriousness to me, a kind of an intelligence to me, but kind of a attractiveness to me, kind of a darkness to me, but a lightness to me at the same time. Like, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I get that I'm attractive, I get the appeal. Some people may not feel that way. A lot of people do. More people do than they don't, and I could just agree with the amount of attention that I get, that there's something about me, regardless of what your opinion is of me, that catches a lot of attention, because that's what I get day in and day out. It's something, whether it's my personality combined with my looks, or if it's the way I speak and how I handle myself, or it's the way I dress. But I think it's a combination of the way I look plus my personality. All I know is, whatever it is I have that is drawing people to me, it draws the worst type of people and the best type of people. But the worst type of people are really truly the worst type of people. It even involves my own family members. Like, it is just something very strange about being approached sexually by your own uncles and your own sisters, and seeing your own sisters and brothers trying to fuck each other and trying to fuck you too. And I'm like, there's no way I'm that appealing that even my own family is losing their shit over me. And I'm like, it's awkward. It's very awkward. And I don't get it. And I'm like, maybe, like, I have no words for it. I don't have any explanation for it. I don't have any understanding of it. And it's strange. And I don't mean it in an egotistical kind of way, like I should feel great about myself. I have all these people, even my family wants to fuck me. That's just strange. but like I would like to have some sort of understanding of why it's happening. Something I could put in some mental file so I can at least decipher it in some sort of way. Like, I don't think there's anybody attractive, and that's like Ivanka and Donald Trump. Like, as beautiful as Ivanka is, it still at no point crosses into, oh, I see why your dad is attracted to you. Like, that doesn't make any logical sense. I don't care how beautiful you get. So, what's the explanation for it? Like, just, I guess the dad's just a pervert. I guess that's the explanation for it. My sister's a pervert. My uncle's a pervert. I just happen to be moderately attractive, and they're attracted to me because they're perverted. Maybe that's just the answer. They're just perverted, and I'm just in a position to experience the perversion. I guess that's the answer. But I just wanted to share that. Like, it has been weighing on my mind because sometimes when I masturbate, like, I start thinking about my uncle, and I don't. It's like when you're trying to have sex and you think about your grandma, and it just killed your boner, or like you feel like your vagina is shriveling up into a dry, sandy desert. Like, that's what happens. I lose all of my sexual energy, all of my sexual mojo, and I'm like, I don't want to masturbate anymore. And then I start to associate my sex toys with my uncle, and then I need to throw that sex toy in the trash because I can't use it anymore. Because every time I pick it up, I see my uncle, and then I just lose all of my sexual energy entirely. And like, it's amazing how something as simple as someone coming after you sexually could totally interrupt your sex drive and your sex life. And it's very bad. It's very bad. And I don't really know how to separate the two in my head. And like, me and my caseworker were talking about, sorry for my hairy armpits, like I need a shave, but like, me and my caseworker were talking about like how to deal with intrusive thoughts. And it worked for a little while there. Like, identifying the thought, reminding yourself it's an intrusive thought, sitting with the thought rather than trying to push it off of your mind. And eventually your mind will acknowledge it as just a random thought. It'll process it and it'll push it out of its mind and it'll move through it. And the more I acknowledge it as just an intrusive thought, it's not a reflection of me. It's not a reflection of my desires. It's not a reflection of my true thoughts or feelings. It's just random noise in my head generated most likely by trauma. Then it's easy for the intrusive thoughts to calm down and recede. But they've returned now because I've been going through a significant period of distress for the last couple of weeks. And I ended up self-harming a couple of times. Haven't done that in about 10 years. I had to reach out to a crisis hotline yesterday just so I could get through the night. And like, when I'm cut off all of these people out of my life, then you start dealing with the healing of the trauma, and you're left with all of those hollow, empty feelings and thoughts from all the trauma. And it's really now the time to grieve and heal and purge over it all. So you have a massive load of grief you have to unravel and heal through. And that involves being sexually come after by family members. So has a tremendous ability to interrupt your sex life, has a tremendous ability to interrupt your ability to masturbate or have sex or date or even want to do any of those things. And so I'm working through a lot of trauma right now, and it gets heavy, it gets hard, it gets difficult very quickly, but talking about it helps a lot too. So I just wanted to get up here and get that off of my mind. Um, and just breathe a little bit over it. So sorry this was so long, but I needed to really get that off my chest. So thanks for listening if you made it this far. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.